You already watch me, so I do. Do ya? You know say we government know they treat we seriously and they know they think of that self at all? You know why they ask this? You remember the issue of the 49,000 bags of rice where the Chinese people and give so the government of we yard for make them go able for feed picking in a school where they go and go take class? This rice we all know say it been just lost like how petrol they lost in thin air, or like how salt they lost in a plazas. You know that, NT? Well, most of the time when we ask question, now the government it like say now just back talk then they give you. Before I begin going into anything, let me listen to this conversation where Dr. Dennis Bright when they ask the question of these 49,000 bags of Chinese rice for school feeding were just lost and anti-corruption not do anything. And I come back just now.
What thing happened to the Chinese rice? You know the reason why they insist on Chinese rice? For me, now the biggest symbol down there of the lack of independence of the ACC when they reach a certain point. I don't know if you understand what they talk. The ACC then can function very well. They can take teacher, then go parade them around cutting tree, then can go and finally then they get a boku money when they are with the tea, fine. But when they touch some kind of area, it tell like say the ACC they become powerless.
Like whose kind of area then so, Mr. Bright?
This Chinese race. Me, I know they go far away from this Chinese race until they tell me exactly what's happened to 49,000 bags. Then not can we go, then they turn me to play cook. Can we go in a court? Pull me, sack this person, this and that. Then they put all the person them back in their position. Then what's happened to the 49,000? Ying. For me, I insist on that's now one of the signal, the indicators for sure you say the ACC, even if they want for work safe, when they reach a certain point, they're not able to do nothing.
Fine. You don't hear the question, NT. Now, listen how the government answer this question.
You're happy for talk about the rest, eh? But I shall say also don't read the which I will like say judgment from the courts, right? And it is what it is with regards to within the judgment say, right? And within that conclusion. So
yes, it is what it is. It all lost, it all lost. Nothing not there for talk again but that. The courts don't say yes, it lost. Or the courts don't say case not there for answer. So yes, nothing not there for say. It is what it is. I tell you, this government's not ready for treat me seriously at all. They not the treat me like for say we now voters them and we get for go back to the polls for go vote for them. But we know say one day, things go be better. But not to that no more. You know, the question now where me want for ask, waiting make anything where then come up with the issue of the African Express, the investigation. It's either the government set mouth, then say they not go talk on that day, or then give it back talk, or then vex pass, we wait for vex, where they don't thief back from. Listen to this one again, where the government been the vex or the tower na the studio because of the ask and the question of African Express. Before he answer the question, he want to go personal. Listen to this and come back.
For everybody who in name don't be mentioned around anything, for which an investigation might be ongoing or for which then the issues are settled with the law, His Excellency the President has been very consistent, and nobody not go take land away from him. Yeah, you can debate as much as you want for other issues there, right, where they emanate from Dandy, but nobody not go subject and to questioning as to whether in order ask them people and they for step aside. And that's a consistent position where His Excellency the President don't take. So it's not only about the issue of the rest. You talk about the conclusions of the white paper, right? We get secretary to the vice president, yeah? We get minister, a sitting government minister, right? And others there with the serve public and civil servants them, whereby just a press release they ask them for go aside and let them go deal with the issues them. And then people and then not ever come back again.
Government don't set anybody aside for the investigation of alleged corruption in the office of the First Lady, for example.
I shall say that those are one of the issues that where you talk to where you talk to the anti-corruption for. No, so
No,
I mean, let me get an interview. No,
Anybody where they allege corruption against, when they investigate,
no, they have,
they make them set them aside. So what about that?
So you're bringing now the issue of the African Express, and I hope so you can allow me the opportunity.
No, just answer me.
No, it's not as simple as you all sound. No, pigeonhole listing. No, and down. If you ask me, you have touched on a more specific thing which has to do with the African Express. Please allow me, not for you, but for the public.
Yes or no question.
You probably think it's simple by your own imagination, but for me, not as simple as yes or no. Yeah.
So make them quick.
You allow me to answer, right? And here's my problem more fundamentally with the African Express. They're pushing out a lot of things. Chernobyl. I don't know if not the same Chernobyl I meet for the very first time in SLP party office on a Friday.
We don't have to look at the
It is important, Dr. Doc. No. It is important. It is equally as important for me, Doc, with respect, sir. No, with respect, and I think the public need to know. Because in law, Doc. When I talk about not being interrupted, I wonder why you guys are upset because I say what I want to say. If you don't want to know about time, then Doc, I mean, respectfully, ignore them. Not to win them at the top. The public, the listen, and supposed to listen. The point for me.
Thank you.
No, you are asked several questions. Now go back to Nobel and I have to make my point. I have to make my point.
The government will
point your report,
not to African Express.
Femi, you be asking me not for interrupt you the talk. So I want to say the same again, please.
You don't talk past me all.
Yes. So you see, anytime they ask them about accountability, then he want for beat person at the studio. Well, this not the way now how the government they fight corruption. Of course, when they fight corruption, the corruption get limitation. When they fight corruption, the corruption not they touch certain area. If corruption reach a certain area, then go tell you say, we not get nothing for talk. Or then go tell you say, we will go back 14, 15 or 60 years from where we get independence for begin look how them be done they work in that area they, before them fight corruption. But wait too, I mean corruption. When you defect corruption, you not for forget, for look back na your host, for correct anything. You know go left for clean your host, where dirty, you run the gonna person your host for go clean them. How you call that one day? Na corruption, ain't it? Well, you don't hear all of them things there, so, ain't it? Before we go inside the discussion proper one way happen on corruption business, you know say the African Express reveal say the first lady in brother get over 400 million leons where they pay them from a consolidated fund. In a house workman, in a house consultant, or in a waiting, where for get money from a country in budget, or where for get money from a country in account. I tell you, boy, then people are not really serious for fight corruption. Corruption, they pick and choose inside we yard. Okay, this not to me talk. Do ya? I just give you a teaser. I just want to let you know within the can be end of this discussion. Do ya patient and listen this corruption discussion as the government they can 3 years in office, so political party then come together for assess the way how the government they fight corruption. This one I don't begin talk about so, and plenty other things that way go shock you then inside the program. No go non side. Listen to the end. I come back.
We tell you earlier at the headline and say today at the program where they can look at the way how the BO administration don't handle the fight against corruption inside almost 3 years where they don't in our office. And we tell you say political party them now then they can do this assessment, and at the end of the video we also will get for the opportunity to now where they listen to the program for send text message and say follow the Facebook view and left your comment say as to how you think say the BO administration don't handle the fight against corruption inside almost 3 years where they don't in our office. Well, for can help we look into this topic where we decide for do today, I want to welcome now the studio Dr. Dennis Bright, we are the chairman for the National Grand Coalition. Good morning and welcome to the program. Good morning, Salon.
Good morning. Good morning to all our listeners.
All right, I also want to welcome now the studio this morning Femi Claudius Cole, the chairperson for Unity Party. Good morning and welcome to the program, ma'am.
Good morning, family on the morning.
And we also get Imran Sila from the Strategic Communication Unit, now the Ministry of Information and Communication. Good morning and welcome to the program.
Good morning, family on Audio.
All right, so now we panel down this morning, then you can tell we how the Bio administration don't handle the fight against corruption inside almost 3 years where they're in our office. Corruption in the first place, now dishonest behavior, we people within a different position of power and can put on pan outside. Some of them at times can give or take bribe and serve they use national resource them the wrong way, especially money them working there for the public where some people them within a big position them especially can just hold them to themselves. And the BO administration before then they come to office, inside them people's manifesto when at the new direction, them been promised them go to get corruption not only as governance issue but as national security threat. Also, inside that manifesto, they me talk say they not go pick and choose pan the fight against corruption and plenty other things in the way they been promise the people of Salon say we then can power then go do pan the fight against corruption. Well, we almost there into 3 years with the BO administration done in our office and at the studio this morning. I just want to let we start from Imran Sila because I represent the government now this morning at the studio. For let we start first from them. Let we know waiting the BO administration don't do in almost 3 years for fight corruption as to waiting them being put na the manifesto where them be promise Salon people them pan the fight against corruption. Over to you, Imran Sila. Waiting the BO administration don't do.
Well, I tell you, thank you again. You know, just one quick point I would like for notes. Now the fact that corruption not to necessarily people out there in authority, whether in positions of power.
Especially so.
Yeah,
and
but then
with them to them.
yeah, exactly. But we also include
For the context, where
I mean, more,
specify what they talk.
well, I mean, well, this is not for the listeners, them, eh?
All right.
I know one for like, which I would like say pigeonhole something from the very start. So I make the broad in right now so that family can go understand better. I mean, I talk about people out there in positions of authority, right? It might mean the procurement person, it could mean the civil servant, it could mean the public servants on side. So everybody naturally get a part for play. Now, in terms of which we administration don't do, right, with His Excellency the President, retired Brigadier Julius Maada from the very start, I think say it's very clear, yeah, in terms of effort. And, you know, I don't know if I've been probably need for go through them, but just so that Fambula Yeri there again one more time, because this is not something that we independent entities and organizations that also they don't verify. The most recent of which now the MCC, and we for 2 successive years with the pass out, right, particularly the index on the control of corruption and the fight against corruption. So that says a lot, right, in terms of which in our efforts on the fight against corruption. You also have to look to how much money the Anti-Corruption Commission don't recover, yeah? We actually don't go back to consolidated revenue. And His Excellency the President don't clearly say some of them money then they could go towards like healthcare facilities for make sure say, I mean, we're able to come up to speed when in Canada area there. So there's a lot. And even internally, right, as an administration, we have seen people and we don't be associated, like for example, on the issue of the white paper, right, when we see a minister, we in name container the white paper. I mean, there was, a press release from State House. They asked everybody we named in that white paper for step aside and go deal with the issue. So, I mean, it shows that, His Excellency the President don't adopt a one-size-fits-all, regardless of whether you serve in this current administration, whether be it as a civil servant or as a public servant or as a political appointee, or, rightly so, as he don't do from the very start, for look back into the previous administration and see. Because the issues of corruption, leading up to the elections, nothing that we've all been talking about. Every single forum we've been get. We talk about corruption, we talk about the endemic nature of farms. So it was right to actually take a look back, right, and see how much we could before we cope as a government. And I think, say, the amount of returns we don't get, stated by the Anti-Corruption Commission, don't vindicate that position there. Now, in terms of effort internally, I think, say, we have also been very successful, because it is for those reasons, and even as we look back, right, now that make like MCC scorecard rate we highly in terms of effort and we fight against corruption. So, yes, do we have a long way to go, right? We'll go for continue for them. Absolutely. Absolutely. The fight against corruption is not going to end in 1 term or in 2 terms. It has to be a continuous effort like every other country in the world. You still have to grapple with it. You still have to try for cut and done and reduce them. to embarrass minimum, and their efforts then they get for be ongoing. And that is why His Excellency the President don't continue to maintain, right, that the fight against corruption will continue. Because no matter what you talk about, I mean, in as much as you want to bring development, in as much as you want to talk about other things there, right, if you not look at them in the context of corruption and make sure, say, whichever one of the get, whichever one of the put into projects, right, for benefit people them, right, if you're not able to make sure, say, people actually spend the money and spend them wisely and let the actual beneficiaries then get them, then it becomes problematic.
So what you talk about being a national fight, that the issue about fighting corruption.
Yes.
What you explain so that the actual thing within a ground, because you get certain people still the doubt and they consider the fight against corruption as a selective one.
That one and the which I go like say, if you look at it in percentage terms, and you also need to go back to reports then like YGR don't produce in terms of the perception index survey, right, on the fight against corruption and MCC and various other institutions. We're talking now about independent institutions there and their assessment. Yes, I agree. You still get people that will get a perception there, right? But then they percentage-wise, I mean, it's a smaller percentage compared.
I know that.
Let's check the records there. It's not which I know. IGR, the reports, right, on the perception index survey on the fight against corruption. It is there, right? And you see we move like from within, is it 39% or something like within 70% or more. That shows, yeah, to your point, and the question we asked particularly. Yes, we have people that will still get that perception. But the greater percentage of Sierra Leoneans now at least get faith that there is a government that fights corruption. Now, I know say at some point further in this discussion, because I see two sides to this particular corruption topic we talk about now. Yeah? There is the facts and the figures and the data and the statistics in terms of the fight against corruption. And more recently, there is, which you could call information is now being pushed out, not so by the African Spirit. So those are two separate issues, but I hope so we'll get to the point for cancel that second Monday, because I have so many, which I will like say, burning things then.
Continue for
right,
the
with the
studio.
concern me what things we need for touch on.
Imran Sila. We will come back to you. Continue for the within the studio. In Imran Sila, come out the Strategic Communication Unit at the Ministry of Information and Communication. From Imran Sila, we will come over to Dr. Dennis Bright. From the National Grand Coalition. We don't listen to waiting Imran Sila don't say, just don't begin for explain waiting the BO administration don't do in almost 3 years on the fight against corruption. From the National Grand Coalition, how una go describe the fight against corruption, how this administration don't handle them in almost 3 years?
To me, waiting me go say, by waiting they see now, I don't mean their official talk. What do they see now? It like say the Arata don't big pass the push.
What does that mean?
Okay. Now, then set up institutions then for fight against corruption or people who they thief government money. But it look like say the only way for fight against corruption, they're not able again. It like say the thief don't overwhelm them, themselves not able for control. Look no more waiting they happen. You know, one thing where you go find for a lot of talk. Let we go to the things that we don't see. Before, when this government came inside, apart from waiting been done at the manifesto, as the came inside, boom, na corruption, all member know so. Egregious and all them big word and they use them for the kind of corruption we've been there before. So the way they come, it like say this corruption also the way they go feta. We say self go able for CC them also they don't begin overpower. Pass way audit reports begin come out. Now CC same like yesterday. What thing happen before? Now continue. In fact, it's getting worse. When we talk about corruption, not for forget say mismanagement. Now the key word pan corruption. We then give government the people the money, then you spend them, use them 50 fatter. You not get no respect for nothing. You just spend like saying you. Now in a corruption. So the audit report them begin show a different story from what Imran they talk so. That this thing they grow. when them produce that white paper, you remember, then give you all the kind of money where people and say they don't thief. They even pass judgment on them. Some people and they say they don't begin pay. They say some people and then they can't take their oaths and everything. We been feel say, where then they do such things there, you understand me? In their own, what they call, their own way then they do things could be different. But what will they see and what will they hear now? It's complete opposite. It's like the kind of money where then they spend who they hear, but now make we will go for the facts. So we don't can see now, say the audit report them. They show a completely different story. Now there are accusations and allegations in the social media when what's they call it. We, now NGC, we not care about the messenger. We don't have to know whether they pay the messenger or whether not they pay the messenger. We don't have to know if the messenger find a war. Now the message, now we want to know. Are they talking about the facts or not? And not forget, say when will they talk about this TSO? Not to them procedure no more, whether they go through procurement rules or whatever. We for begin member, so within a situation where things bad for people, how then they spend the country money? Now we want to know whether then they spend them frivolously, whether they spend them 50 fatter, all that nine the corruption, where the people then care about, not to MCC. MCC, the people are not worried about MCC. MCC then they talk their own language and their indexes and waiting and call. Waiting the people and busy about now. Now waiting make lecturer. They now in the language. It want for let them go do operation panel. It defend money. It defend support. Now they die so. But you're not able, you want for go India or for go some side. Because we're not able for treat and yasu. Now then kind of thing they would talk about. How you they spend the money, waiting are you priority where they spend the money pan. We make people and they suffer in this country.
Okay, continue for the with Dennis Bright na name and in the national chairman and leader for the National Grand Coalition. Inside the program this morning, we talk to political party them and look at how the BO administration done the handle the fight against corruption. We talk to political party them. We don't explain about how the administration of President BO done the address corruption. And this time around, we bring in the chairperson for Unity Party, Femi Claudius Cole. Madam Cole, you always inform with first two panelists them we don't talk, and everybody don't give their own view. In a national way, how you would describe the BO administration in terms of addressing corruption?
The fight against corruption we them promise, to me, will not really begin fertile yet.
So what they don't need to do so far?
Not just the preamble, before you go to the main topic, you go just give overview. Because for me, if they really committed, say we want for fight corruption, you get for fight corruption from different levels. You they begin fight them from down, why should they fight them from up? And whilst you they fight them, you they keep a close eye on yours. They say that happen at glass house in a stone. So you they keep a close eye. Say whilst we they fight corruption, let we begin for fight corruption from within. Let we make sure say we administration clean. We they go according to the law, we they go according to the rules. But what thing we they see? To me, I can wonder say when they talk the talk, when they talk. Na salon, this salon now all they talk about, or will they talk about a utopia, a place where not exist? The auditor's report. To me, I feel to say, if me I'm in president, if I be win, this auditor's report, now I'm in morning time reading, now I'm in afternoon reading, now go be me next reading. For sure say, we're not go in the right direction. They show say, we get problems, then now, let me left, okay, we can do post-mortem, but the man don't die. The important one now, the one we sick, we get from men. And when you read this report, it make you heart sleep well on all areas of our life. It shows say we institutions they not get the things in place for let all man do the right thing. And when then they play with this kind of money, it affects the poor man. We they see Usai people and they earn 22, 23 million for month. In that same breath, you get for students say, okay, something the person deserve that kind of money. Dey. But if we they pay and that kind of money, they get fuel, they get DSA, they get this, they get that. It ought for now consider the poor man.
But most of them here, when they talk about paying certain people amount, they will tell you saying that they right on until it don't happen previously, not just continuation.
I know they say, okay, if that man they deserve that money, they you pay him, you know go here, Mami Cole complain. But Usai, it go bother me is if they pay you that money, then you don't the custodian of we your money, the people their money.
Set up. Primarily, they work now for ensure say them fight corruption when at the anti-corruption commission. Inside the past 3 years, the strategies them way the now commissioner don't they use and they fight against corruption. How you go describe them?
Well, and I describe them from the onset of what I begin for say. You not begin it. You really not begin it. And let me take a step back for a minute. We can look at corruption on the high level. Let me look corruption on a daily basis. See the way they affect you and me. We look if when even they say na perception, a lot of the people then they perceive and say then they face corruption. Me they ride keke. Now Okada no more I don't stop for ride. When me they observe the traffic police, now when they talk about rank, and they observe traffic police in the interaction with the public, in the interaction with the one way they transport we for go work, for go school, and for camp. Waiting you they see now a clear case of corruption gone crazy, corruption on steroids.
So why you give corruption that kind of description? The way you look at the present administration, they give themselves applaud for say they don't do well. Where they look at waiting they don't gain from feed them with people and when they cannot find guilty of corruption, don't they pay?
You they look say they don't get that money, but if you get that money, that means translate automatically say you don't fix the problem. And you say then they congratulate themselves, say then don't try. Soup na pot no they praise himself. If you not test and you know they know. If you anytime I can sit down inside transport, and they always relate with the transporters waiting at them constraints. And you not even get for ask them, you they see them. And as the office, the police senior they talk about ranking, they look and say, what about if you take hold of the police force as a force for good and begin for change their image? They are perceived, the perceptions of very common rank them either the highest, most corrupt institution or the second most corrupt institution. Why? But it is obvious. If una truly committed for fight corruption, that's an area where the public they see. When you go see traffic don't choke from St. John take Usai, the police they all them focus no more now for turn the traffic roads into a small business enterprise. Where they know they actually fight for say they actually focus say we want to minimize corruption to the people of Sierra Leone.
Right.
We know this here.
Madam Femi Claudia School, continue for the with me at the studio. We'll come back to you. We'll quickly go over to Imran Sila now. We'll look at the fight against corruption inside the almost 3 years, and you don't begin to talk about how the BU administration don't treat corruption. Now I will let you take me through some specific measures them where you go say this administration don't put in place for show the seriousness say they really they treat corruption not only as governance issue but security threats as stated in the People's Manifesto where the SLPP can empower it.
Okay. So one thing will come to mind now the fact that now as a matter of which I would say emphasis, you see everybody now they do a declaration on a yearly basis because that is something that the Anti-Corruption Commission very big on, right? Because what it does now is for civil and public servants, if you get for do an asset declaration on a yearly basis, then it means anything outside which we don't declare the previous year, you understand that there has to be some valid explanation now also, and that the Anti-Corruption Commission are actually able to keep track. Because if, for example, in 2002 you go and declare, say, I get 1 keke, and by 2003 somehow you don't acquire about 5 more keke, you understand it's an issue. I mean, you sort of which I go like say, they give ACC reason for one for big concern as to how come you're able to multiply, get from 1 keke to 5. So those are necessary steps for public and civil servants. And also, you talk about procurement processes now. Just yesterday, I think Swari Bindene from the procurement we then call also, and then I take on through some of the things that we then do in terms of within the standard way they don't sell, right, from 2018, 2019 and 2020, right? Those were clear for everybody now. So those are important and necessary steps, because what it also does now that it also makes sure, say, ministries, departments, and agencies of government understand what those processes are, and that somehow, they circumvent and do anything outside. We will also raise some alarm and concern as to, how ministries, departments, and agencies. So this is about public and civil servant. Can I just say, and I'll touch on a few things, we Dr. Dennis Bright and Femi Claudius Cole mentioned. He mentioned the issue of burials and monies. Now, I can tell you as a Sidonaya that this government done lost, right? And by extension, it means the states done lost the Deputy High Commissioner to the United Kingdom, who was on post and on duty at the time of his demise. We also done lost the ambassador to Kenya, right? Who was on post and on duty, well, on post at the time of his demise. Now, look, there are certain protocols accorded. If somebody, take for example the High Commissioner, Deputy High Commissioner to the United Kingdom, he died there. How do you expect serving on post and on duty at the time of his demise? How do they come back? So those are which you could call. Let not appear for be that sensational from the way Femi Claudius Cole make it sound. Oh, well, we didn't do Pambain. If a deputy high commissioner die like every other state, you now have the responsibility. It is the same as right when you don't for serve now you post and you return. It is the state that is responsible, because first of all, send you good, they're responsible for your departure and make sure you come back home together with you and you belongings and all that. So those are standard things. So not because the person don't die now, that means say, now we sit down now. When was it at the start of this administration? The one that will be done serve as press attaches and all that, they complain for which is supposed to be them benefits. Not so, because now the state will send them and now the state will call them back. Right? And those are responsibilities that the state had to fulfill. What makes it any different now because the person don't die? So right? That's sensational kind of a way you make a mention.
And right, but you think it's not a priority at this particular time where the layman out there they complain about getting their living?
It's only common sense demands up to you.
No, some of them think they go right, but look at the timeliness.
So where the person die? Now the person determine when he die? Is that
the priority? More important?
So if the person die, the burial?
No, they're not saying no, but the
so
amount.
Which you mean by priority and timeliness? We not go for determining when I die. I hope you understand. So assuming say I serve out of this country at the pleasure of His Excellency the President, and I die, now me on timing for die? Or does the state now have a responsibility that I die whilst in duty and on service for bringing a body car and make sure say my family they're able to bed me properly?
Continue for
those are simple things. And just one quick thing in 30 seconds, please. I should say Dr. Bright go appreciate this data and statistics, because that is why I love having a big brother who has a PhD. He mentioned healthcare. 39% maternal mortality, in terms of reduction. 19% infant mortality. You wonder where monies are going, right? So, those statistics indicate the reduction by 39 and 19% indicate that it was the right investment in healthcare. Not make we get a reduction. They don't happen by miracles.
Okay, continue for the with Imram Silla. We see Madam Cole so eager for coming.
Eager for coming. And the point where the audit report make is this. There has to be, we look at how we strengthen with institutions. So there is no policy in place and regulation in place. So what they get for do is put a policy in place. For say somebody of this rank, and this rank, this now we they do when he die. But right now, up until the printing of this audit report, there is no regulation or policy in place. So it cannot be up in the air. So it can be specific to the rank of the person and the amount that is spent.
I disagree.
But it cannot be a blank check from the consolidated fund.
No.
That is the point that is being made.
No.
Another point say they echo throughout the audit report.
So Madam Femi, in terms of blocking the leakages, where we've been always on the Yeridi presidency, and one of him focused on the in governance for ensure say a block leakages where allegedly the past administration then say so many money be they go down the drain where people not be able to account for where they be classified as corruption. How the BO administration will handle blocking leakages?
Well, it's obvious from this report say they're not block leakages, because in order for you for say you really meaningfully want for block leakages, you they put policies and monitoring strategies in place. Under this same report, they talk about 3.1 billion spent Bank of Sierra Leone staff on top up. And where are they calling? There should be checks and balances and policies in place where they're able for monitor say, look, this is the amount, that's the maximum that somebody of this pay grade or that pay they go get. And that's where you begin to block. But when you read this report, you see mistakes being made. Let us look at the timber, where whoever can claim say, now he make this kind level of mistake, whereby instead of you put the correct measurement where you for take measure out then they carry with timber go, you make mistake. Instead of cubic meters or whatever, you measure them by container. The country lost $5 billion.
Madam Cole, when you look at all in point here where they raise in terms of which you point at the present administration, they call them right and order, and most them they tell you say most of the things here where una they complain about that other political party them now things where they meet now a continuation within a government system.
No, but right now the conversation where would they get? Sorry, Dennis. The conversation where would they get right now? It's not what we think. We're looking at the question where he asked is, are they blocking leakages?
So you think that the leakages don't increase or maybe?
Well, from the report, we will get the next auditor's report. That will be an eye-opener. If there are leakages there that are highlighted, are fixed or not, whereby people, they do things with impunity. It's as if the consolidated fund is a personal bank account, which is not. But the only way where you go fix them, if you really committed for fix them, now for put the monitoring policies them in place, checks and balances.
Okay.
And their procurement rules, but nobody know they follow them.
Continue.
Everybody they spend as and how we please.
Okay. We still continue for look at how the BO administration don't handle the fight against corruption in almost 3 years. And where the president be the talk say he want for block leakages, where we look at this time. Not to himself it be mean say they go block the leakages and but institutions and where people with responsibilities and they not the institutions here for ensure say then support waiting the president been talk for block the leakages. Waiting NGC think say the institutions here don't they do so far. They don't able for block the leakage them where the president's been promised say a one for can block we will have people on the use government money then the wrong way winner corruption.
The Auditor General in office they do very well. For sure we see the leakages then still there. In fact, they're almost not drainage now. So then they do well for that, because at least the auditors' reports they give you a clear idea of whether they don't make any improvement or not. And every year, you find out, say, the irregularities them, because now so they call them, they increase. So that one then are one indicator. Now, we come to the ACC. The ACC now a body where they don't create an institution. As you talk about institution, we don't create long before this administration come. We don't function. And we find out, say, this administration give more muscles to the ACC. We will be we gladly say the government don't strengthen the ACC for let them do their work very well for chase this corruption. Now, I want to draw our attention to one very interesting comment, passing comment with the outgoing US ambassador be make. That woman we can talk with. Where he say the ACC they try, but they get for sure say they work not for chase them people that we've been done there before no more. We go able to assess them well. We then begin chase the one that we do within. That real time, who they talk. Not to wait when 5 years don't pass, you go make big commission of inquiry, go to be belly then, come for come within a call. Right now, when we know see this year they happen, you get for handle. So let me talk about the ACC. That young man there, it started off very well, he done the try. I'm not gonna lie tell you. But me, when I start this program, you ask me what I mean by that parable of pool. It tell like say the arata don't big pass the puss.
So now waiting the young man they miss where the arata the big pass the puss.
I want to ask you something. Some time ago, we one big man in this country. He talk say if they go on 100% contract or something for do. If na the 1% safe, you put in your pocket. That's safe, not bad. Big man in this country, now he talks so. Now that same big man, then they accuse now about this corruption. You begin ask now whether now waiting even they think of doing or waiting they do now they don't mention so in waiting they call the number 2 thing for talk about this institution here. Then Chinese guys 49,000 back. Till this blessed day. Nobody don't know what happened. They don't even go on a court. Then charge people there. Then pull people in their work. Then put them back. All other things don't happen. But the 49,000 bag of rice still there in limbo. We still don't know. Me, they tell you now, say, the SEC, sometimes it want for do in work. But when brackets, the push don't big, the arata don't big pass them. It is freed.
So you want to say the independence of the Anti-Corruption Commission, I mean, in terms of addressing corruption. Now, one, we not only go the right way because you earlier state say the fight of corruption start off very well for the beginning, but for now, you they describe as other thing. Waiting really you think say don't go wrong now the fight of the corruption in the country.
I think say corruption don't explode back now we face inside this society. And we see signs of them all over the place. And I believe that this man, when he come for it's easy for like confront corruption we been done to be in the past. But for confront corruption where they happen all over you now, where you self you subjected to the same systems, it's difficult. This is not the same country where anti-corruption boss run away. That is where the arata big pass the push. The anti-corruption boss, he run away common at this country. Because the fire been too much for her, the kitchen hot. So this man, this particular man, I sorry for him. Let the arata know it the push safe.
So that is arata in question where
the arata now the corruption is safe. The current corruption will happen. Now in the arata. Now imagery now the use.
So while you use the imagery then they for describe the current situations, then you go also take listeners then through some of the specific areas them where NGC don't fail not say corruption really they happen. But the Anti-Corruption Commission, when an institution way for fights, then corruption, you know they make attempts for good at all.
Like you, one way where we do operate. We know to investigative journalists. We go left hand to the one they win at the work. You understand me? So don't ask me, waiting, we don't find out or whatever. We go try our best, but we left hand to the competent authorities then. When recently some allegations then come out, you find out, so we're not kind of regional, can't talk about them. We use the right to access information act. Now we go direct to the competent authority, we go give you the facts. And that's in the day on floor now, we still wait for the response because they therefore respond within 3 weeks. 15 working days. Now we get entitled to. So now, me can tell you now, say, we they try to get all the facts. But where I tell you, let me not hang against that. The important thing of that Chinese rice, the Chinese rice is indicative of exactly what that the problem would face. Because it let you fight corruption, but when you knock, you reach in a certain quarters, you they find out, say, you're not able to go through. And that poor man, a young man, I sure say he don't working in Cactona side, where you find out say not able to go beyond that.
All right, Dr. Dennis Bright, continue for the between at the program Good Morning Salon. And we come over to the studio guest them back and continue for look at the topic of the day where we look at where how the BU administration don't handle the fight against corruption inside almost 3 years. And I come over now to Imran Silla before we take the other issue they we don't listen to waiting Madam Claudius Colon talk and serve Dr. Dennis Bright also be make points them also according to Ram, I believe say the Anti-Corruption Commission current commissioner, it look like say the corruption way it face right now, it able for tackle the one we don't pass, but the one before him right now, it not able. And he refer to that as the Arats are the big pass the post. Waiting the government thing, but the Arats are the big pass the post.
Well, Dr. Dennis Bright, Ingo give your explanation as to what you mean by that, and me no know side pull from, right? But it is good. I mean, you also talk, say, which is the talking, it's written.
Waiting it explain.
I understand what they explain because I mean, I agree to none of what they say. But I understand he's a political man, right? He belongs to a political party and he has to have a position. I mean, we they talk about all of which I don't say in a year. All of which I don't say in a year get for do with facts, right? It is not coming from me, Imran Sila. Right? It's not just something where government they talk. I mean, go look at the MCC, look at IGR, the report. I mean, all of the reports then they clearly indicate, say, that there has been movement. And when I talk about movement, I mean forward movement in the fight against corruption. That cannot be disputed. Now, in a broad sense, in terms of, as a nation, as a state, as a government, can corruption be you go to fight corruption inside 12 months, inside 24 months, inside 36 months? The answer certainly is no. In Western countries, far more advanced countries, they're still talking about corruption and how to minimize it. I hope you understand. And so it is a real and current thing, yeah, for every single nation and for every single government. And so you have to make sure, right, you have the right structures. It's about structural reforms, right, within MDs and all that in there, for make sure so you continue to reduce that. But here's the point, and this on this note, I think say it's very disingenuous for we for Sidon and not for acknowledge the effort so far. Do we see a glass half full or half empty, right, in this fight against corruption? With all we too don't see all the reports the way they come out year after year, sometimes 2-3 months a year. 2-3 times a year in the fight against corruption. One quick thing, Femi Claudius talk about burials, yeah, and he talks policy no day. Well, I not think say no that much, and I will forgive him for that.
For you, improvements.
Point is.
Improvements upon the fight against corruption.
Point is.
This 3 year.
Point is, there is now a policy on civic funerals in this country.
Leave the funeral.
I can guarantee you. No, not person because I mentioned them.
For the fight against corruption.
There is now a policy on civic funerals.
For the fight against corruption,
I can guarantee that.
Improvements day.
Mabel, I don't know which you they read from which me they read in terms of the fight against corruption, but every single data, every single statistics, MCC scorecard, IGR report, reference those. Let us have an informed discussion.
So how you go describe as informed discussion where you want we get? How you go describe the over 177 billion loans?
Have you not seen those reports where they indicate say
this administration not able to account
in efforts in the fight against corruption we have moved from 39 to almost percent.
The informed discussion.
You not see the reports then they?
How you describe the
You don't see the reports then they? So let that be the basis.
Imran, how you describe the over 177 billion where this administration, the Auditor General report say not able for explain how
I'm coming to that.
How you explain that?
I'm coming to that.
In the fight against corruption.
I'm coming to that in 10 seconds. Do we agree now that those reports clearly they suggest from 39% to 79-80%?
You don't talk about the MCC
we acknowledge
and you keep the reports.
So not to me they talk about that. We be in agreement that should be the basis.
Let we know
on
now.
The issue of the audit report. On the issue of the audit, but it shows achievement, it shows effort, it shows movement forward. Except if you don't want to acknowledge that, but I should say family they listen clearly understand where they come from. On the audit report, we have seen audit reports that don't come out now though. And here's the beauty of it for me, right? Next year audit report obviously will go for show right, in your findings.
Well, we'll wait for the one. Let me look at the one we don't come out.
Allow me small,
Let me
Mabel.
look at the one we don't come out.
No.
Let me go forward to the one we not come out yet.
Mabel.
About waiting people
Mabel.
to say they inside it.
Mabel, there is something called context, yeah? Allow me. So if you're not probably
right, go
understand
ahead.
what you're at the talk, let Fambul and get the
Go
opportunity
ahead
to
and talk
understand what
about
you're
the
on for talk.
2019 report where people
Thank
know
you very,
say over 100.
thank you very much. Allow me
also.
no. Allow me also, Mabel, with respect,
Go
to
ahead.
set the context. Thank you. Next year report get for Komo, it get for Shonyon. One of the beauties of this administration that we have seen, right, unlike in the past, is that for the very first time now we see Anti-Corruption Commission, they're at liberty. In real and quick time, as audit report the command, then they issue out press releases and say, oh, we're investigating this, we're looking to this is of concern, right? So it's now in addition to the Public Accounts Committee in the Parliament, right? We see the Anti-Corruption Commission, actually, they look into the issues raised by the audit report, right? And we also see, right, as a matter of fact, we also don't see the Anti-Corruption Commission, they recover monies there. So in this report we just come out in December of last year, we know say there was an issue of the laptop or something on side. Yeah, somebody do them give money for laptop. Somehow they're able for see the laptop. That's come for So for me, I think it shows. For me, I think it shows. Some may find it funny, Doc. I'm sure you get used to for that.
Example again.
For me, I think it shows.
So waiting the auditors general.
For me, I think it shows, right? It's about an approach. The audit reports will come out, and subsequent audit reports, they also go for come out. Do we have institutions now? Because the work of the auditor, and that is what we're missing, is to make sure so we control, right, corruption, and make sure the procurement procedures are met, yeah, by ministries, departments, and agencies. That is the objective, yeah. And once you do that, you put it in the grand scheme of things, it is also about the fight against corruption. And there are only two institutions that we know created by an act of parliament. We get the mandate to fight corruption. It is the audit service. We not get the legal latitude for convict and take people into court. And then the Anti-Corruption Commission, which has the legal, very important point. We get the legal latitude, right, for able to take people into court and get people in for pay. Are they complementing? Are they working on written and the seen at the audit report? Oh, certainly. I don't think said anybody did dispute that on there. So I think one of the things that I think Sierra Leoneans want to see is more of those, more teeth to the Anti-Corruption Commission, right? In terms of making sure
the auditors
issues being raised by the audit report.
It really shows us say on they do well on corruption or not.
Look, it shows, it shows two things for me. It shows that there are real challenges, systemic.
None of the excuse
Systemic.
for the over 100 billion.
It shows that there are systemic. You ask me, right, Polagi, which I think say that's a government's position, right? It shows that there are systemic challenges, yeah, in terms of real efforts to fight corruption. But then it also shows.
But not sure say there is corruption.
It also shows as a systemic challenges. That is what leads to some of the things then, yeah. But then it also shows that for the very first time that we have an Anti-Corruption Commission that we can be proud of, that has been as independent as possible and they follow through in real time, right, on the issues that have been raised by the audit report. One more quick point, and that is something with Femi Claudesco raised on the issue of this timber. You know, when they talk about again, I find it is laughable, really, that somehow we sit on Naya and, you know, Femi Simfo thinks a small sector like timber, they raise 5.4 billion. You must be having an out-of-body experience for going to that conclusion.
Okay, it's
completely.
And look, let's talk about my out-of-body experience.
$5.4 billion.
It's in the audit report.
On one small sector.
You don't believe or
the audit report also. The audit report. Go to the audit report.
It's right here.
And you would hear the auditors. I sat through their press conference. Both at Campbell Street and at the head office. And they did come to a conclusion. I'm sure you probably didn't get that press conference.
That it was an error.
Oh, I'm coming. That they did come to the conclusion that the Ministry of Finance wrote back to them at a time when they had concluded their investigations on that particular sector. And they sat down as a team and looked at the response from the Ministry of Finance and realized, because then sort of figure out, say, I'm coming. Then sort of figure out, say, you must be having an out-of-body experience or sort of gone to the conclusion, say $5.4 billion is being raised by a small sector. And so they allowed it to stand. And that is why I'm talking about what came out from the
All right,
audit
Imran,
press conference. And
quickly.
that was why, this is a point I have to make in 10 seconds. And that was why, when they do the sum total, in terms of which then they allude, say, right, unaccounted for, they did not include the 5.4 billion.
All right.
So I don't understand why anybody for taking on their run with them, if not for political reasons.
Okay, look,
Madam Cole,
Yes.
quickly before they come to Una, Imran, you
Yeah.
make mention of systemic challenge and the fight against corruption, especially regarding waiting they come out at the Auditor General's report. This not a waiting salon people expect for the area at this time. Systemic challenge still there, taking into consideration the administration where they now, people be they expect say the new direction where they say they bring come, not to follow where they go back to waiting. Well, arguably, now that's make them say they want change, for a new direction come. Now we still get complaints of systemic challenge. Why people were still in authority, we're still in authority
Yeah.
involved in corruption allegations.
When you say authority law, we define that one day. People are there in official positions where they serve, yeah? And they're talking about civil servants there.
So why
we
we
get
still
a
get
lifespan for
challenge
60 and
that
65 years, as the
new
case may be.
direction?
Look, I mean, one of the things that I think say, I mean, and we have to be very truthful and honest. I hope you understand.
The question is why we still get systemic challenge with the new direction.
We have to-
One
That's a bit
minute,
insulting.
I wasn't really talking about you, Dr.
No,
Barnes,
because
right?
we are having a debate.
No, I wasn't really talking. I wasn't really talking about you.
Truthful and honest.
Quickly, let's just respond to it, then we'll come to Una.
I
just want to
Dr. Dennis Bright, I reference myself now, yeah, for God and Satan's sake.
Question, please. We're not
Good.
enough time.
Exactly.
Now, myself are the reference, right? That I want to be
So why we
truthful.
still
Now,
get
make I say we,
systemic
meaning as in
challenge in
me,
new direction?
right? We have to be truthful and honest, right? If you look at some of the things that with the Anti-Corruption Commission they talk about, for example, I mean, they also get the mandate for talk about structural and systemic reforms. I hope you understand. And those are things that they don't profile with regards to ministries, departments, and agencies in the areas that they don't investigate, right? I think more broadly also, if you go to some of the initial commentaries from the IMF and the World Bank, right, since the start of 2018, I mean, since the inception of this government in 2018, right, they talk about structural reforms, right, for sort of bring out, I mean, for sort of enhance further fiscal discipline and transparency and all that kind of opportunity. So I'm saying those are things that are ongoing, right?
Okay.
Because this government, His Excellency the President, retired Brigadier General Manabiu, get the same ambitions and aspirations, similar to what the U.S. ambassador talk, which is no different from this government's ambition and aspirations.
At the studio, Imran Sila, we'll come back to this now. Okay, Madam
Yes,
Cole,
I want to talk about where will they talk? Imran, the audit report, you obviously have not read it. Me, na me daily reading, I have read it. So whatever they talk is written here. It's not something I am making up. But the news where una just read talk about the accidents, the people that don't die from toxic waste from the mines. I bring you back to the audit report. The audit report, they say 46 mining companies them. Now they review their license. Now before mining companies then get license, they're supposed to forget what they call EIA. That EIA, now environmental impact assessment, that almost damage the work where then they can do, they cause to the environment and to the people then. Out of them 46 mining companies there, can you believe, say, 16, they will not ever get that paper there, where they not ever present the environmental impact assessment, but then they operate. They already don't give the mining license. That is the height of corruption that negatively impact the people in them villages then they. Because it means as if people then they give a mining license, some people are obviously making money out of it, then they know they protect the people, not the environment. Then they're supposed for when they're not mine done, the big old and the big water side the way then they left. The mining companies are supposed to go back and rehabilitate their areas then they. When you read the auditor's report, there was no national strategy. These are the auditor report of Imran. There was no national strategy for the rehabilitation of mined out areas at the time of the audit. An amount of 788 million was collected in all the regions, but there was no rehabilitation done. So, in terms of leakages, in terms of putting things in place, Imran, you are a brother. I don't envy your position of having to defend the indefensible, but in real terms, the government, it appears...
They make factual statements now, by the way. There's nothing there that's at the trial for defense.
After the audit report, I did not interrupt you, sir.
Yeah. So
if after the
just
audit
to make the
report,
point.
they don't put a burial policy in place, I say kudos. That means they are listening. But other areas, then they back, that are problematic.
Madam Cole, Imran earlier stated whatever point they make because we're not a political party. Is this on a national interest or not? They talk this because we're not a political party, we want gain point.
Partisan politics.
If Sierra Leone is well run, not to accept people, they no more go enjoy them. The entire country will benefit.
So for now, Uda say they enjoy this administration.
Well, from what you look, if people and the way they earn serious money and they're not doing their jobs, answer the question. Who that they enjoy them?
Right.
Because the people of Sierra Leone are suffering in every aspect. Look, the one that now we don't lost their life because whoever is in charge of mining dropped the ball. If Unabi make sure say the mining companies they get the environmental impact assessment, you don't know what are the dangers, what are the toxic fluids that you are going to put into the rivers. When are they then they brook, now what are they then they take cook, now what are they the people and they take was.
Okay, continue for day with Femi Claudius Cole.
All right, so they come back to Dr. Dennis Bright. We will listen to waiting Imran they talk earlier where asked about why the country still get systemic challenge them where he campaign the fight against corruption. He talk about efforts them where he say the government on they make for ensure say the anti-corruption commission gets more strength for do them work and self other institutions them able for support the fight against corruption. If according to waiting Imran they say na efforts in that one day for fight corruption. Also you they see salon they go before the next election where we don't know how we go get for like if na then kind thing here they continue.
Between me and you, the way things they happen now, if there allegations they have continued for further, because you remember me tell you say, I not give a damn about the messenger, now the message. Wait till the hearing, and we will continue for seek the truth and the facts then. And if then thing they are so because. You know, this government, every week, they get explanation. Every week, something they happen, we pass them can explain. If they reach the way people and they fed up with the explanation. And that is what we are doing now. Even when they come with MCC figures and what's they call figures there. You know, get nothing for do with the realities of what the people are going through. Waiting the people in the hearing now the kind of wastage where they happen. You remember say now the same leakages them they talk about also how the government money just to go fitty-fatter. And the audit report, you say 39% of waiting methanol or whatever. Me they tell you now, waiting immediately. 2019 now 177 billion. Now they mismanage. But the year before now be 140 something. I think 147 billion. 2018. Now it don't increase to 177 billion. You say let us still wait for the next one. We will still wait for the next one. For me, I want to let Imran answer me. What thing happened to the Chinese rest? You know the reason why they insist on Chinese rest? For me, now the biggest symbol down there of the lack of independence of the ACC when they reach a certain point. I don't know if you understand which are they talk. The ACC then can function very well. They can take teacher, then go parade them around cutting tree, then can go and finally then they get a broken money when they are with the tea, fine. But when they touch some kind of area, it tell like say the ACC they become powerless.
Like whose kind of area they so, Mr. Bright?
This Chinese guest. Me, I know they go far away from this Chinese guest until they tell me exactly what's happened to 49,000 bags. Then not can we go, then they turn me to play cook. Can we go na court? Pull me, sack this person, this and that. Then they put all the person in them back in their position. Then what's happened to the 49,000 yen? For me, I insist on that's now one of the signal, the indicators for sure you say the ACC, even if they want for work safe, when they reach a certain point, they're not able to do Nothing.
Imran, over to you, please. The rest, now one big question way from where Dr. Bright came to the studio, don't they ask for any comments? Now the Strategic Communications Unit under the Ministry of Information and Communication. Waiting to happen to the rest as they ask.
You know, Dr. Dennis Brown, for you're happy for talk about the rest, but I shall say also don't read the like say judgment from the courts, right? And it is what it is with regards to within the judgment say, right? And within that then conclusion so they arrive at me not a legal expert, right? So I'm not going to delve into within the legalities of Dande. I shall say your best reference point in relation to Dande, right, could be the Anti-Corruption Commission and probably the judge, right? Then go for guide you on Dande. But here's the point more fundamentally, and I think say that Dande touch and concern government. For everybody who in name don't be mentioned around anything for which an investigation might be ongoing or for which then get issues are settled with the law. His Excellency the President has been very consistent, and nobody not going to take Dande away from him, yeah? You can debate as much as you want for other issues there, right, where they emanate from Dande, but nobody not go subject and to questioning as to whether another ask them people and they for step aside. And that's a consistent position where His Excellency the President don't take. So it's not only about the issue of the rest. You talk about the conclusions of the white paper, right? We get secretary to the vice president, yeah? We get minister, a sitting government minister, right? And others there with the serve public and civil servants them, whereby just a press release they ask them for go aside and let them go deal with the issues them. And then people and then not ever come back again.
Government don't set anybody aside for the investigation of alleged corruption in the office of the First Lady, for example.
I shall say that those are one of the issues that where you talk to the anti-corruption for. No, so
no, I mean, let me get an interview. No. Anybody with an alleged corruption against they investigate.
No, they have.
They make them set them aside. So what about that?
So you're bringing now the issue of the Africanist press, and I hope so you can allow me the opportunity.
No, just answer me. No,
not as simple as you always sound, Mabel. No, pigeonhole listing. No, down. If you ask me, you have touched on a more specific thing which has to do with the Africanist prayer. Please allow me, not for you, but for the public.
Yes or no question.
You probably think say simple by your own imagination, but for me, not as simple as yes or no. Yeah.
So make them quick.
You allow me to answer, right? And here's my problem more fundamentally with the Africanist press. They are pushing out a lot of things. Chernobyl. I don't know if not the same Chernobyl I meet for the very first time in the SLPP party office on a Friday.
We don't have to look at the
It is important, Dr. Doc. No. It is important. It is equally as important for me, Doc, with respect, sir. No, with respect, and I think the public need to know. Because in law, Doc. When I talk about not being interrupted, I wonder why you guys are upset because I say what I want to say. If you don't want to know about time, then Doc, I mean, respectfully, ignore them. Not to win them on the talk. The public, the listen, and supposed to listen to the point for me. No, you are asked several questions. Now go back to another room, and I have to make my point. I have to make my point.
The government will
report, not to African press. Femi, you be asking me not for interrupting the talk. So I want to say the same again, please.
You don't talk past me all.
Because when I talk in circles, I don't allow me the opportunity for talk. When I talk in circles, I don't allow me the opportunity for talk, right? When I know so I want to say something, I always focus on which I want to say. So let me make my point, right? And so for me, I think, say, if you push out information in law, when somebody they go testify or stand as witness, yeah, they also question his character, right, in relation to the truthfulness of that particular evidence. The way I'm making a point. This is for public consumption also, yeah. So if the public is also consuming that bit of information, plenty of which I find very factually inaccurate. So, for example, media retreat, presidential cocktail. If you now listen to several of your videos, it's sort of the traffic talk say, well, there is a reason why they all learn and then they happen and then they give people the money. Well, I go the presidential, I go the retreat, right, from the Ministry of Information and Communication, because that's where I belong.
We know that the audio
no. They're central to all the things that we talk. They're central to all the things that we talk. We also talk about. Those were the issues he raised yesterday whilst he get interviewed. Several of the issues. issues then did. He did not. He said he was not here about the Africanist press. I listened to him. He mentioned briefly. He mentioned briefly.
Published, not new.
Yeah, but
that was what the minister stated in our program yesterday.
I listened to the interview.
We want to move come out from the Africanist press.
I listened to the interview
and go to the issues and where we deal with.
They're germane because all of which in Dr. Bright and Femi they talk about, right? Touch and concerns and then things and they already come out. So for me, right, on issues like harmonization of wages and salaries, right, media retreat, presidential cocktail, and some of the issues and they raise up. I mean, harmonization of wages and salaries, I have been involved in it from the onset on behalf of the ministry. I know how much progress they don't make, right? I mean, in terms of cabinet concurrence and the way they call it, look, there are necessary corrections that I have to make, right? And I emphasize again, this not for me. It's about the public. I think they're supposed to get the opportunity for Yeri to written and things factual and correct.
Let we look at messages and where people on send at the program this morning quickly. The very first one to look at from the text, and this person is interesting how Imran is arguing against what some corruption prevailing now in the country. This issue is far beyond partisan issues. When you get together as a people to fight against corruption, then we will win. But the corrupt official or the layman will see Imran as a defender of those perpetuating corruption. I am sure a government representative must join others to condemn corruption that is prevailing against the poor people in the country.
This other message, they say the issue about travel per diems and all stated in the Africanist press is one that the information ministers have said it's their right. So I wonder why Imran is making an argument point.
All right, this other message we will look at from Med Nakisi Road Nafritong. It asks, say, can the studio guests please discuss the way forward as to how to tackle corruption, especially in the current administration?
Another message here, they say MCC grading on corruption is a perception and not what is on the ground.
All right, well, from their message in the law come to the studio guests, then now let we try for talk about ways them forward as we not get too much time at the studio. And I will start with Madam Femi Claudius School. We try for talk about ways them forward now as to how the country go able for fight corruption.
Yes, and ways the way we not go able for see this kind auditors report again. And then one and they unexplained expenditure. Where person take money, you know, say for right time, say for keep receipt. So when the auditor come, you know, they write back say unexplained expenditure, unsupported payments, following procurement procedure. You know, they go to 1 grain person you buy, you get forbid. So let me see, say the next report, those things are not happening. Fear not accounted for. That people are just, they supply them fear, they know the right and wrong. So let us have better monitoring and accountability. Payroll irregularities. Those are all the things that they need to fix. Payments without supporting documents. Not of any rights, all this. So this is from the auditor's report. So withholding taxes and GSTs not paid. Monies being collected and not being taken to the bank. Debts that the government owe, people the way the government owe, contractors the way don't work for government where they not repay them.
Okay.
So if the government is committed to fighting corruption, yes, you want to look back. But the most important fight is the corruption that is ongoing in real time, the one where they be now. Let's tell you one simple one where people then go say waiting. If you lost your phone, then get one unit where they call cyber unit. Anybody who lost in phone, they carry the box go, you go make statements, they're supposed to link up with the cell phone companies for finding your phone. 30 they are not meet nobody yet, other than that foreign away then tipping phone at State House. I not meet nobody yet, where they don't find their phone.
Right.
So units like that one day, it's supposed to do something for the people, for the poor man. We go they cry for your phone.
Okay,
if they go and carry in box, go and carry all thing go, pass you put for them back.
All right,
Okay,
many
Madam.
thanks for joining at the program this morning, Madam Femi Claudius School from Unity Party. Quickly over to you, Dr. Dennis Bright. Waiting it for be done as a country for fight corruption.
All waiting Femi don't talk so very important. But waiting me concerned about corruption is that the people them with this corruption they affect most. You know, look like see they actually understand with that are one of the things them. So the people where the corruption they affect, they therefore wake up themselves and know exactly and show, say then they hate corruption, so that people they know can begin bluff them with corrupt money.
Right.
Then go able for stop them and tell them say, but you not thief man, who say pull money there.
All right. Many thanks for joining at the program this morning, Dr. Dennis Bright, Chairman for the National Grand Coalition. And we'll wrap up with you, Imran Silla from the Strategic Communications Unit. Waiting at the next plan them way this administration gets as to help in the fight against corruption, especially so in preventing corruption of what happen.
Well, I think, say, look, on the advent of the audit report, both the one for, I think, 2019 and 2020, one of the commitments them, right, where governments make as a result, I mean, because you get to go through them and see how much structural reforms they needed, right, for make sure so you deal with some of the systemic problems there. We don't they exist for a very long time now, this country. And so those are commitments then obviously, governments will make and continue for take real and determined efforts, right, for make sure say we curtail some of them in there. And we hope say institutions then we also get the mandates in the fight against corruption, ACC and others, as they don't do. Go obviously take the issues then they very seriously and walk through them and help for bringing some swift reduction in some of the things that what they say. But then I'll just end on this note. I just think say for me it's just dishonest and disingenuous for anybody for suggest say efforts not done be made so far, right? And I think say also dishonest and disingenuous for party political and partisan reasons for also suggest say those efforts should not be acknowledged, right? And celebrated, right? In essence means say they encourage we for continue for do more of that. That's a note I'd like to end on. Thank you.
Many thanks for joining the program this morning. Imran Silla, in name a commander of the Strategic Communications Unit at the Ministry of Information. We'll be also getting the program Femi Claudius, co-chairperson for Unity Party, and Dr. Dennis Bright from the National Grand Coalition.
So, by now, you know if the government really serious for fight corruption, or corruption no get eye for see certain people, or corruption no get foot or get barrier for go inside certain territory or office. Okay. Thank you. Na small one more I can talk about. Join we na net because we get plenty thing for talk about inside this corruption business now we had.